When we first hit Globalist status, we thought we knew what we were getting. Free breakfast, room upgrades, lounge access. And now 4 years and dozens of stays later, it turned out to be so much more than that. And a little less than that in one specific way, which I'll touch upon later. But today I'm going to give you the full picture of what it's like holding Hyatt's top-tier Globalist status, what you can expect, and how you can get it too. So let's start with the basics. You can typically get Hyatt Globalist status by staying 60 qualifying nights per calendar year at Hyatt properties. And we'll talk about how to get there and some shortcuts in a little bit. Now, once you have it, here's what you can count on. Breakfast included usually for 2 adults and 2 children, but we haven't been charged even with 3 kids. And at a luxury hotel, breakfast for 5 adds up fast, so getting that for free can be a huge savings. And next are complimentary room upgrades. These are subject to availability and not guaranteed. But in those 4 years, we have received really nice upgrades the vast majority of the time. Lots of suite upgrades, and if those aren't available, then rooms with better views. And we love a good view and feel like it adds to our travel experience. So we love this perk. Then of course, there's also club lounge access, which for our family is a huge perk. So more on that later. And then there's also late checkout and early check-in when available. And with kids, flexibility on timing is everything. Being able to check in early or hold the room a few hours longer has been so convenient. And welcome amenities. This varies a lot property by property, but some of the amenities we've received have been really memorable, especially for like birthdays. So that's the official list, but the official list only shows half the picture. Now, free breakfast and upgrades are great, of course, but now 4 years in, I can tell you that it's really the unexpected moments that have really moved us and stayed with us. Let's start with the welcome amenities because these have surprised us the most. Hotel after hotel, we've been welcomed with very thoughtful amenities for both adults and kids. Fruit, cookies, chocolates, but what has surprised us most is how personalized some of these moments have been. And some hotels actually save your family's preferences between stays, and our kids are dairy-free, and one hotel always arranges a dairy-free birthday cake without us asking. You know, it's so thoughtful and sweet, and every year that's what our kids want to do for their birthday. Go to the hotel, something they really look forward to. And then at other hotels like the Grand Hyatt Hong Kong, our kids were gifted unicorn stuffies, and our oldest had been asking for one for a while, so it was such a cool moment when they found those waiting for them on the bed. And beyond the amenities, here are the perks that most people don't talk about. The first one would be free laundry service. Certain hotels actually offer free laundry service to Globalists. One of our last stays was at the Grand Hyatt Kuala Lumpur, and there they offered to wash a couple of pieces free of charge per night that we were staying there. So that was super convenient because when you're traveling with kids, you're always bound to have some laundry. So that was super convenient and thoughtful. Then there are food and spa discounts for guests, and sometimes there are even deeper discounts for Globalists. Not every property offers this, but some do. Like lately, it was the Standard in Hua Hin where we received this benefit, and they were offering Globalists somewhere between 15 and 20% off for food and spa treatments. There's also drink vouchers at a lot of these hotels. Again, not universal, but we've received complimentary drink vouchers at several hotels. And these are small gestures that consistently make you feel valued. Then there's the club lounge staff. Honestly, like, I can't stress this enough. They are often some of the most helpful people around, especially when you're traveling to a new country, a new city, someplace that you're very unfamiliar with. If you have lounge access, the lounge team can be so helpful. Questions about the city, restaurant recommendations, help with bookings, resolving issues. They are accessible, knowledgeable, and they're really invested in making your stay work. This one is something that we noticed over the years, and that is how the hotel responds when something goes wrong. And this one really surprised us because this was not something that we were thinking of when we were going for Globalist status, but it has made a difference as well because, you know, things go wrong, especially at these huge, massive hotels. Unfortunately, we've had our fair share of problems. We have one video about this actually where we address some of the issues we've encountered at hotels, but then more recently we've had a couple more. And you know, the way that the staff resolves the issues has been very, I must say they were very accountable, and that is really reassuring. And it really mattered to us how the hotel was responding and how they were trying to resolve the issue. Oftentimes also managers will reach out to us personally or directly. Most recently at the Park Hyatt Kuala Lumpur, the hotel hosted us for an almost unlimited dinner at the restaurant, and while it didn't erase what happened, it showed us that the hotel cared about making it right. And honestly, that kind of accountability matters when things don't go to plan. And then on your way to Globalist, there are also the milestone rewards. So the journey of reaching those 60 qualifying nights is kind of broken up. Once you stay 20 nights, for example, you get a choice between club lounge access or 2,000 points for staying at a Hyatt Place property, for example. Once you hit 30 nights, you get a free night certificate. Once you hit 40 nights, you get a suite upgrade certificate. So there's just a lot of perks along the way, which make it honestly a little bit more exciting and make you maybe a little bit more enticed to actually reach the 60 nights. So everything I just talked about are not usually mentioned as official perks, but they have really shaped our family's travel experience. They are not really the ones that we were expecting when we first hit Globalist 4 years ago. So people often wonder about the financial value of Globalist status, and let me be clear, the savings are real, but they don't always look like what you'd expect. Now let's start with breakfast. So breakfast is included for Globalists, up to 2 adults, 2 children, and I'm not going to tell you that hotel breakfast is always the cheapest option in town. It is not, and especially in areas like Asia, you can just go out and you'll find incredible local breakfast at a fraction of the price. But here's the thing, when you're traveling with 3 kids, convenience really makes a difference. And even though it's not a quantified value, to us it really matters. Not having to get everybody ready, pack up the stroller, find a place to eat, find a restaurant where all your kids are going to find something that they like. One of my kids wants noodle soup in the morning, another one wants bacon and pancakes in the morning. And a hotel breakfast offers all of that right there on the plate for you. And so that convenience to us really matters. But if you want a hard number, breakfast at Hyatt properties for adults usually range between $20 per person to about $50 per person in more expensive cities like Seoul, for example. So for a family of 5 across a week-long stay, these savings can be really meaningful. But what we value the most personally is convenience. Now let's talk about room upgrades, because here the savings do get a lot more quantifiable. The rooms that we usually get upgraded to, whether it's a room with a better view or a suite upgrade, they usually range between $200 to $300 per night, that are more expensive than the base room that we've booked. And so that really does make a difference, especially again over a week-long stay with your family. That adds up to about $1,000 to maybe $3,000 of savings, and that's really significant. And then there's a rollaway bed. There are properties where they charge for rollaway beds per night. So again, that adds up really quickly. So we've had places where they charge $25 per night for a rollaway bed, but then there's been places where they charge $75 per night for a rollaway bed, or even $100, and that adds up really quickly. Sometimes, and I'm not going to say always because that's definitely not the case, sometimes when you email the hotel in advance, you ask them about the price or whether it's complimentary. We've had in the past where they would quote us a specific price and we would be going back and forth via email, and sometimes talking about other things. But once they would realize that we are globalists, sometimes they would come back and they would offer the rollaway beds for free, which is amazing. It's a huge perk. So this recently happened to us at the Standard in Hua Hin. So that was really cool. So, I think it's always good to verify before your stay. It's always good to reach out via email to these hotels and introduce yourself, build some rapport, and then see what happens. So when adding it all up, complimentary breakfast, room upgrades, rollaway beds, food and spa discounts, drink vouchers, free laundry at some hotels, the value of globalist status for a family of 5 is really substantial. But beyond the numbers, what it really gives us is the freedom to travel more comfortably than we would without it. This is one of our favorite perks, but when it comes to club lounge access, the experience varies so much from hotel to hotel. Let's start with the good, because the good is really good. So at its best, the club lounge is like having a family home base at the hotel. It's really a place to decompress after a long day of sightseeing. Like, you come back, everybody's cranky, everybody is thirsty or want a snack. You just head to the lounge and it's right there for you. It's just readily available. And then for dinner, you don't have to think about where to go or what to eat. You just, pick up your kids and you head to the club lounge. It's really convenient. And the evening canapes at some hotels, like the Grand Hyatt in Hong Kong, that was a standout example for us. They're just so generous that they replace dinner for our family. And honestly, most of Hyatt properties in Asia have a really generous spread. And having that option at the end of the day with 3 tired kids and tired parents is something that we really value. Now, the Grand Hyatt Kuala Lumpur has one of the most family-friendly lounges. There's actually a specific part reserved for families with children, but it doesn't feel like you're tucked away from the lounge. You really still feel part of the lounge, and they even have like a TV set up where they play some cartoons. So it really makes it clear hey, this is a family-friendly, inclusive space, and you don't have to feel bad for coming here with your kids. Because at some properties, there might be that feeling at times, which we have mentioned in our hotel reviews. And then I want to give a shout out to the lounge staff at most of these hotels. They have been so amazing with our kids. It just feels really nice when you and your kids feel welcomed in a hotel or in a club lounge. So we really appreciate that. And as I mentioned earlier, the lounge team often becomes your most reliable source during your hotel stay. Questions, recommendations, anything you need really. They're consistently the most accessible and helpful people in the building. Now here are some tips for the lounge experience if you're a family with young kids. For us, what we've noticed over the years is that timing really does matter. For example, we like to go at the start of cocktail hour so that we're one of the first to arrive because, people start to trickle in a little bit later. And so you have pretty quiet experience in the beginning. You can tend to all your kids, get them settled in and get them ready. So once the lounge gets a lot fuller, you're not really running around or scrambling trying to get food for them. And then another thing that really matters also is that some of these lounges get really, really crowded. Not all of them, but some of them do, like the one at the Grand Hyatt Taipei. That's what we noticed, that if you're not there right at opening, then it gets really hard to find a table for more than 2 people. So since we're a family of 5, for us it really makes a difference if we go early enough. So it's worth keeping in mind, especially at hotels in busier cities. And another thing to be aware of is that some lounges do not allow children under 12 years old for the evening canapes. So for example, the Grand Hyatt in Seoul does not allow children under 12 in the lounge. So always check the lounge policy for children before your stay. So how do you actually get there? Let me walk you through the different paths because there are more options than most people realize. The first one, if you're in the US market, would be to hold a World of Hyatt credit card. There's a personal credit card and then there's also a business credit card. If you hold a personal credit card, that means that every year you get automatically 5 qualifying nights. So that already reduces your total to just 55 nights. And that can be really helpful. Then also for every $5,000 that you spend on that card, you get 2 qualifying nights. And if you hold the World of Hyatt business credit card, for every $10,000 that you spend on that card, you get 5 qualifying nights. So that can be really helpful and can actually help you reach globalist status even faster. Then there are also challenges. There are corporate challenges where you put in your corporate email and it will let you know whether you are eligible or not. And then once you register, you will be an Explorist for 90 days. Explorist is the tier right below Hyatt Globalists. And then if you stay 20 qualifying nights within that 90-day period, you will also receive Globalist status for the entire year and the following year. And then there are other shortcuts. The most recent one that was announced was in cooperation with Air Canada's Aeroplan. There will be a challenge there There are about once a year, there are challenges with American Airlines, and then there's also a different challenge with Bilt. So there are definitely multiple options if you want to fast track your status. And then something else not to forget is that there are guest of honor certificates. So Globalist members, as they reach different milestones, they also get guest of honor certificates. So these certificates are for Globalist members to gift to other people that do not hold Globalist status, so that those can also experience what it's like having Globalist status. And we've gifted one before, and honestly it was really heartwarming to see somebody who had never held the status, how they were impressed with how they were treated and the benefits they were getting. So it was really cool for us to gift that. So that's another option. If you cannot do a challenge or you don't have access to credit cards, there's always the guest of honor certificates. And then for context, I just want to briefly let you know how we first hit Globalist status in 2022. We were actually working our way already up to Globalist because we knew that in 2023 we wanted to do a family travel gap year and thought that the status could really help our family, especially traveling with very young children at the time. And back then there was a different promo. So if you were a holder of the World of Hyatt Business credit card, then you would get double qualifying nights for every night that you would stay. So if you were staying 10 qualifying nights at the hotel, you would actually be credited 20 nights. So that was an amazing deal, and we immediately jumped on that, applied for the credit card, and then started racking up our nights like that. And that's how we reached Globalist status for the first time. Now after that, we usually reach 40 to 45 nights organically through our travels. And then we also supplement this with the 5 nights that we get from the personal Hyatt credit card. And then at times too, we would put some spend on our business credit card to get additional nights. And then we would try to rack up nights at a Category 1 hotel, which luckily, since we're based in Asia, we do have some access to. So that's basically our strategy of how we reach Globalist status year after year. Bottom line is that there's not one single path to Globalist, but for a family who loves to travel, it is far more achievable than what it might look like on paper. So after hearing all these benefits, are there really any downsides to holding Globalist status? And after holding it for multiple years, I've come to realize that it does give you some kind of tunnel vision. Because when I start to plan a trip, the first thing I do is I just start looking at the Hyatt hotels that are in a city or in a country. And then from there, that's where I start planning. But that means that we might be losing out on some really unique boutique hotel, or we might be losing out on another hotel that might actually be a better fit for our family. And this has actually happened to us. There's been a Hyatt, for example, that we stayed at. They would have a kids club, but it would only be for kids ages 4 and above. And we were traveling with really young kids, so it wasn't a good match for us. So we most likely missed out on another hotel that would have been a better fit for our family, where they would have a kids club maybe, or they would have more activities for the kids of the ages that they were at that time. So, like I said, it does give you some kind of tunnel vision. And I think as our kids are growing older, maybe we'll start branching out more. And this is actually where I do value holding some of the premium credit cards. I value, having more options when it comes to hotel stays, because they give you hotel credits every year. And if you want to maximize the value that you get from these credit cards, which you should because you're paying so much money for them, then it really kind of entices you to branch out and to check out different brands. For example, for us personally, that gave us an opportunity to stay at the Four Seasons in Jakarta, which was an absolute amazing stay. So that was actually thanks to one of these hotel credits. So is it worth it holding Globalist status year after year? Yes, from me, wholehearted yes. I think especially in the phase of life that we're currently in with young kids, I think it's really worth it and valuable. And we plan to continue to hold the Globalist status over the next couple of years. Both the preferential treatment and the convenience of all the perks makes it all worth it for us. But in the long run, I'm not sure if we will stick with Hyatt or if we will start diversifying more as our kids get older. We will have to see how it evolves. Globalist status has shaped the way we travel, and we hope that this video gave you a clearer picture of whether it's right for yours. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more honest family travel content. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye!